get ready because today's guest is about to expand your entire map of sex and spirituality. Rob Kancler, founder of Men of Substance, helps men experience the hidden wisdom buried in ancient erotic traditions. And you are in for a very potent and rich conversation. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm Dr. Willow Brown with my lovely co-host, Leah Piper. We are the Sex Reimagined Podcast, and we are so grateful for all your wonderful likes, shares, and subscribes. So keep them coming.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one you're definitely going to share. He brought so many things to the table and articulated them so well. This was a conversation I did not want to end. We could have sat with Rob for 5 more hours. I believe you'll think it's juicy, and I hope you work with Rob. He's fabulous. So please tune in, turn on, and fall in love with Rob.
Welcome to the Sex Reimagined Podcast, where sex is shame-free and pleasure-forward. Let's get into the show.
Rob, I want to personally invite you to the Yoniverse of Leah and Willow and the Sex Reimagined Podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited that you're here, and we love to have the masculine wisdom, on how to open women. That's what one of the things we're going to talk about today. I mean, we need that so bad in this world. We need more men understanding how to open women, and also more women understanding how to open themselves. And so they kind of go hand in hand. And I'm sure you have a lot to share. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this work. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, the tale starts long, long ago, Dr. Willow.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
In a land far, far away, there was a boy. And I'm fucking around, but yeah, let's play with it. So this boy just felt really uncomfortable a lot. And I had this feeling of like, okay, see what everybody's doing. I don't like this. What else is there? I don't think that this is for me. And I remember when I was in my teenage years, I had that feeling so many times about, I was like sitting in a car with a group of people and just being like, I feel bad. I wonder if other people do too. I don't have the tools to talk about it. I don't know what to do with this.
Totally relate to that. I think everyone can. Yeah.
Well,
totally.
I don't think I was one of those. I was sort of like that comfortable social. The more people around me, actually, the more fun I had. But as an adult, I have gone further into the direction you guys are speaking of.
Yeah, well, I think that when I was a kid, I had social anxiety to the sense where like I would get more bubbly and energized, but also there was something that I was not meeting in myself that was kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do. Let me or whatever. And yeah, there was something underneath that of like, I don't know how to reconcile something that's happening inside of me, and I don't like this. And when sex came into the picture, I had this feeling of like, I don't think anyone knows what this is about. I don't like this. I don't think this is for me. I don't buy it. And following that thread of doubt and dissatisfaction led me on an epic quest.
The hero's journey.
I love this. Yeah, such a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of just like, I was going to say fucking around, no pun intended, in just investigating this gap between some intuitive hunch and what I knew, the sense of like, I don't even see it, but I know on some intuitive level that there's something that I am compelled towards or am aware is missing. And let me see what I can uncover about that, basically. Like, what is that? And that, led me in the direction of different spiritual traditions, play parties, kink, BDSM stuff, yada, 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 yada. Body-based transformations, somatics, different coaching modalities. And I'm not saying that my interest in sex and sexuality was the reason why my whole life happened. I'm not meaning to imply that, but it was definitely a really central theme and at times like an obsession, like this sense of like, I need to know how to close this gap. And I'm very bothered that I don't know how.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this right. This discomfort of going like, I don't buy this. This doesn't feel right. It's not landing. I think there's a facade going on with most people when it comes to sexuality. And it was that feeling that led you to go, I need information. I need to go seek what the truth is. Whatever, like you knew something deep inside of you was saying there's got to be something more.
Beautiful reflection, Leah. Absolutely. Yes. This sense of like, even when I was having sex with people who were totally willing and, you know, checked all the boxes, there was still something in me that's like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So that was a very deep journey for me.
Was there also something about sexuality, like inside of yourself, that was drawing you to discover more and study more and, you know, explore more rather than just, wait, this isn't right? You know, was there like something about your own essence or your own experience with sexuality? Of course. Yeah.
100%. There was definitely a through line from very, very early on of something that felt palpable in a way about intimacy and body intelligence and like a connection to something greater than myself and like something happening through me and flow states and something like deeply beautiful. And it was as though sex and sexuality was like the only domain for me as like an American male growing up to experience intimacy and to be able to reveal and explore different parts of my nature. And it was like, this is the final frontier for developing males in our society or whatever. Like, this is the only place where I can play in these ways.
You went
and
right to the root.
Yeah. In the sense of like, I think like, for example, like homophobia and all kinds of weird frames about what is healthy masculinity and maleness or whatever play into that of like, okay, this is maybe one of the only places where it's socially acceptable and safe for me to explore these different parts of myself. So there was that. There was a lot of different pieces for sure.
I think that's interesting because as a woman growing up in our culture, I feel like sexuality has been normalized for men. And like women, it hasn't so much been normalized for women to curate their own desire, to understand their desire, to go and really develop their desire. We're kind of handed this idea that men are the ones who want sex. So they're the ones who have to figure out how to have it. And at least I'll speak from my experience. It was like, okay, you can do me, but you got to be the one to know how to do me. I didn't know that I could learn to do me until later. And so when I hear you say this was like a place where there was permission, as an American man, that's kind of how I'm summarizing it in my mind. Do I have it right?
It's interesting. There's like a little bit of, this is maybe abstract or subtle, but I feel like we're still finding our alignment in the dialogue here and in hearing your reflection. A couple thoughts. I noticed one pop up here around how what you're describing sounds like a systemic theme where men are, you know, like the assertive go-getters and women don't even have their own desires and they're just kind of passively along for the ride in patriarchy or whatever. And like clearly that doesn't really serve anybody. I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that that's shitty and nobody's having a good time.
And I do think it's changing. Like, I certainly feel like I don't always lean into the patriarchy thing. I think it exists, but sometimes I feel like that's also a scapegoat. Like,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
I think that word is so sloppy. It's like, let's just put a big block on top of everything and like, have some anti-male sentiment sprinkled on our poor thinking and inability to look at nuance and sophistication for sure. So I typically don't use that word, but it did come out of my mouth. It's just like what I would say is like the systemic transgenerational trauma that skews consciousness that we're all suffering inside of for the past couple thousand years, basically.
You just summed it up beautifully.
Or patriarchy. If you want to be Yeah. If you want
If you want to put
risk
it in one word,
misunderstanding
Yeah.
and
That's
all
great.
that comes with that loaded term, for sure.
For sure. There's so much anti-male sentiment baked into these frames and into our world in general that I think is important to hedge against. And I typically don't really use that word. I can't imagine that I have on a podcast in maybe ever or a long time, but whatever, it happens.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to parse it out that way. And something else that was striking me about what you were sharing about your journey into all of this is that you are younger. Has it been your experience too that like a lot of people aren't asking themselves the question, there's got to be something more to sex and I want it. It seems like a lot of people are interfacing with that longing inside of them more towards the middle age. And I'm always interested in people who have that longing at a younger age, because that's happened to me. I was a younger age. I was always the youngest person in every sexuality class until now. And I'm curious if your experience is showing the same theme.
Interesting. I can say that like I've been the only male in a room of stuff related to intimacy 1,000,000 times.
Oh, really?
And then, yeah, I've also been in rooms where it's clearly about sex and there's like one woman there, some brave soul, right? So I've seen that a lot and I'm like, dudes, you know what's going on over there? Like you should go over there. It's better. You need to be a little patient, but like that's a good arena for what I think you're interested in.
What's it like being the only guy in those classes? We often find ourselves in those classes where there's like, there's one or two guys sprinkled in, and all the women are just like sharing from their womb space. And what is it like when you're immersed in that and learning from the feminine in that way?
So many threads already. I'm just gonna surrender not keeping track of all of them and just be in the flow here with you.
Yeah, like a feminine.
Yeah, right.
Probably like a female-led class.
Yeah, right. Let's see. It's confusing and complicated when I think about it. Like the stuff that I experienced when I was young, it was a mixture of like, should I be more feminine? Do I hold this other pole? I'm so cool. I hope that they like me. Like all kinds of different things happening for sure. Yeah. Well, there was something that you said, Leah, that I want to circle back to if I can. Let me see if I can grab it. So yeah, my desire, or like my doubt, my dissatisfaction, taking that seriously as something that like, yeah, I mean, like I think that's a burden that you'll be blessed to bear, that feeling of dissatisfaction. And I think that I can speak to the male experience and what I think men need to hear pretty directly, because it's something that I've lived through and something that I've focused on a lot professionally. And there seems to be, and I'm sure women have their own flavor of it, and people who don't identify in that frame as well, where I'll say two things. One, the first thing is it seems like there's a like some sort of meme or theme in our society that diminishes men from taking themselves seriously on an emotional level. Like the sense of like, bro, just chill. Like the sense of like, I have a friend who's extremely successful in so many different domains. And when asked, why are you so successful? And he's like, because I lose my fucking mind when something is not working in my life. And I just obsessively focus on it until I fix it. And that is why I'm rich. I have an amazing, like he's just like, what is it? Like, give me the fucking solution. And this is something that I have kind of pulled out of the mud in myself from, I think, being trained in that kind of cultural frame of like, dude, don't be so intense, just chill out. Or whatever, like this sort of frame that I think is encouraging men to just like derp around and scroll on Instagram and play video games and watch porn, when there's a part of men that wants honor and integrity and a beautiful life and a meaningful contribution and something that is incredibly beautiful in the way that they express themselves and live their life. That there's something in us that is mobilizing our creativity and our whatever boundaries, whatever words I might want to say. And we are living inside of whatever this transgenerational thing where it's almost discouraging people and like rationalizing that inherent part of our instincts away. And this is why I think it's a good segue to frame that. Like, I think about sex and teaching people about sex as being fundamentally about integrity, that this is, and not integrity in the sense of it being about ethics or morality. Historically and etymologically, that word meant wholeness or being intact, like integration, integrity. It's the same root.
Yeah.
And the sense of like, if you don't handle your sex life, maybe you will never feel whole. Like this is actually fundamental. It's not like something else. It's like, no, you're not in right relationship with your nature unless you attend to this and figure out how to succeed in this domain of life. It's fundamental.
I love that. I love that perspective. It's actually very Taoist. And in the Tao, we say sexual energy, Jing Qi, is the same as your essence. So like what I'm hearing you say is that when you're really like cultivating your sexuality, paying attention to it, growing it, evolving it, focusing on that, you're bringing your full essence to life.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like we are fragmented. We are inherently disintegrated. There are certain fundamental parts of ourselves that we're not including in our lifestyle. And I think this is represented in our culture as people feeling like, okay, I'm me and I have family values. And then I have this thing that I cannot get away from that feels like a fucking demon or a werewolf, and I cannot help it. And I'm compelled. And now I watch really hardcore porn and go on these tears where I do drugs and hire hookers. It's just kind of like, yikes. Like maybe that's not really what we're trying to accomplish here as individuals or as a society, and the externalities, like the external consequences of this disintegration systemically are very dark. And there's so much pain in these different kind of like pressure release valves and scapegoats in our society, rather than like what would it be like as an integrated tribe or society where our sexuality is a part of the fabric of our reality. Like this is big.
It'd be a whole different world. Yeah,
it'd be a whole different world for sure.
I feel like too there is sort of a epigenetic addiction to pain, because there's something about the pain that we are co-creating in our lives that brings us into presence. Like, oh my God, I can really feel that. Boy, that doesn't feel good. That's painful. Our brains orient to like, what's not working, I think that our whole culture will have more of themselves, more of their essence, more of their availability to focus in on co-creating pleasure and love and alignment and things that feel good in their bodies. I think in order to do that, we have to really like look at the pain in a different way. Like it's not something to get away from, to make bad, to create more resistance around, but to like make friends with and find out what is my addiction to porn? Why are you here? Addiction to porn. Why are you here? Masculine energy, no matter what our gender is, that keeps me reaching for whatever addiction it is, sugar, alcohol, whatever. And that can give us like, those are the little nuggets and those are the little pieces of medicine that help us flip the coin. And I feel like we're in this time right now, which is so exciting. I love what you're saying, Rob. It's just like, we're in this time where we have a lot of resources and tools, and we have the option to choose something different.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a whole lot here. I'm taking notes because it's starting to get like real dense. And I said two things and I only named one of them. So I wrote down what the other piece is and we can circle back. But to respond to what you just said, at least partially, I think that so many people, maybe, I don't know, maybe most people are kind of like in the mud with feeling like they just feel bad and they don't know what to do. And they're just kind of trapped inside of the rat race, Netflix, dopamine reward cycle thing, right? And people are just kind of buried in that, and their relationship to their essence and to their instincts and what they really care about is so buried. It's so buried. So I think maybe some people hearing this may resonate with that or think of someone in their life who's in that sort of state where they're clearly not doing well and the life that they're leading isn't what they want. But what do I do? And what I think that you're saying here is like, I'll pivot actually. I think men need to be and feel competent as a fundamental core value of masculinity itself. And when men cannot be and feel competent, it is fucking devastating. And when men are in a situation where they cannot succeed and they do not know what to do to change that, they're crushed. So then they just bury themselves in distraction and avoidance and energy leaks and integrity issues, because to just sit in the fire of like, this is completely not okay and I can't do anything about it is it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. And
nothing worse than to feel impotent, you know.
Yes,
and
for
impotence
sure.
is such it affects men at a level that is not as relatable for women.
Yeah. It's so full on. And I think the amount of encouragement that men need sometimes is so little to just be like, this is not okay. Like, get off your ass. You matter more than this, and you can change. Sometimes is not very much. It's sad how little support and reflection and straight talk a lot of guys have received of just like, get up. Like, this is not okay. You know, I remember
we need more of you. We need more of your
Yeah.
soul and your heart and your mind and your everything. Like, come on.
Yeah, like
the
this
world
is not
needs
okay.
you. Yeah, look around.
This is not okay, and you can change, and you're loved. And there's nothing. Another thing too is that like people don't want to face what they've been doing because they feel ashamed.
Right.
That it's like, if I start to take responsibility for my life, I'll admit that I've wasted the past 20 years, and I'm not willing to do that. So I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and like my way to death.
Did you just say, Rob, that men don't need a lot of encouragement to transform and change?
They don't. They don't.
Highlight that for everyone.
I think that I've seen it happen many times where, like, for example, once I was having a conversation with a guy who was like, oh man, it's whatever. It'll be okay. And I was like, it will not be okay. It will not be okay. This plus time equals something that is absolutely not what you want. It is not good for you. It is dishonoring of your family. Like, it's like it's just so like, no. And it's like, well, fuck. And that then they're like, and we're here to help you.
Makes me think of the 1 degree of change. You know, if a ship is on course in one direction, but they change 1 degree, they're going to end in a completely different spot. So it's like, it's these little pieces of shift and encouragement. And I really feel like that is such an art form. You know, it's definitely an art form that I've had to learn and develop, especially working with men around sexuality, because, you know, so many of us vulva owners out there, we're like, but they're not doing it right. They're doing it wrong. And when men are met with criticism and judgment, that doesn't work. Right.
No,
so it's like, how can we find the thing that is working and highlight that, focus on that? Is also very Chinese medicine. What in the body is working? Let's fortify that. You know, let's fortify what is working in someone's life, really highlight that, and then take them from that place. I mean, this is all genders, right?
This is even like the fundamentals of trauma healing, where it's like entrainment can happen from body to body and in a field, but it is often what occurs is like there are coherent cells and tissues in your own body, and they're right next to the parts of your system that are overwhelmed and isolated. And I mean, that I think that's too much. That's not the thing to get into right now, but I want to circle back to the second piece, and then maybe we can talk about how to open women.
Oh, let's get to that.
Well, I've got to surmise some of this, you guys. So let's hear your next thought, and then I need to kind of bring it all together.
And then we'll switch.
Cool. Yeah. And as a open loop and a carrot to dangle, the how to open women thing in my work segues into a whole branch called Fuck Her For Real.
Ah,
And that's
like that.
it's a good chain of events. The sequence is nice. So cool. Yeah. So the other thing that I was going to say is it seems like a lot of people, and specifically there's a unique flavor of this for men, where men feel like it should just work without them learning about it, or, for example, learning how to communicate effectively with their partner about their needs so that they can help their partner, help them get their needs met. And the same thing shows up in dating and pickup and seduction and so many things where it's like, oh, well, it should just work and it doesn't. So meh, like I give up or whatever. And it's like, that's not real life. Like if you want to succeed in these different domains, like women and sex and relationships or whatever, like you should not expect success. You should not expect the result you want if you do not learn how to get it. And it's like, this is it's so weird how this seems like it's like a mind virus in the heads of so many men, almost this Disney movie fantasy thing of like, oh, I should just grow up and then I meet a girl and she loves me for who I am, and then she sucks my cock every day and it's just kind of like, it's like, yeah, probably not. That's probably not what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Disney didn't do any of us any services.
For sure. And I know that women have their own experience with this too, where, I think that what happens with women is they're just kind of like, well, if he doesn't meet my needs, then like he should just know, so fuck him. And it's like, yeah, maybe that's not going to work either. So, I think that there's a whole lot here to look at, but one thing that one of my mentors, teachers, whatever in the pickup world had said in an interview where a woman was like, so basically you teach guys how to talk to girls. And he was like, yeah, okay. And she was like, well, that's really creepy. And he was like, do you know what's creepier? Guys that don't know how to talk to girls.
Totally. That's great.
So true.
Okay. So lots of things have been shared. One is like how pain, especially emotional pain, can create avoidance, where we just bury it and we don't look at it and we're afraid of what it means if we've been avoiding it for years and years and years. And then the shame arises and we just kind of keep going down this descending spiral. And then that in some ways we're not making space for masculine intensity, for men to be able to be intense. And like we're still in this chasm where women still feel threatened, I think, by a lot of male intensity, whatever the story is, whether they've had an experience of it or not. There's some sort of conditioned response that says men are dangerous. And so I can't open.
Men are dangerous.
I can't open. Right. Men are. So there. Yeah. What
men
if we could
dangerous.
Embrace that male danger and find eros in it, which I think there's another place for like the conversation between men and women. Like, where can we find the sexy in the dark masculine? Where can that be such rich turn on? How can I get off on a little bit of the transgressive? I mean, I'm at a point in my life as I study more and more of like kink and BDSM that it's like, I want those transgressive elements. I want some objectification. I want to be so desired that you're going to take me. But 25 years ago, was my system prepared to open to that? Honestly, I don't think so. I think I needed more of like the beauty of sex. And it's at this age that I'm really craving to make sex dirty again. And so I think it's not like one or the other. This is where I think Willow's contribution to like an art form that like as people, wouldn't it be wonder if our culture valued teaching us more of these art forms so that we don't have to go without. We can have the beauty of sex and we can make it dirty and transgressive in a way that opens each system authentically.
Which basically boils down to attunement, like being attuned to yourself so that you can be attuned to the other in moment to moment.
Well, it is about attunement, but I think it also has to do with capacity like the context actually having capacity. And I think
For
there's great
sure.
value in men's
Right.
work, because I think a lot of men, it's like you cannot expect women to hold that if you've never moved it before,
Yeah.
if you've never touched those parts of yourself. You need men who are not like literally in physical danger because of these ranges of you. Like that's, I think it's really important when we think about like there's so much suppression and just self-mistrust is at the ground of literally everything is self-mistrust. So if you're like bottled up with self-mistrust and fear of your fiery ranges and your darker sides forever, yes, you can be in an incredibly robust relational dynamic where you can let that move, but that is totally unrealistic for almost everyone until it isn't. And the things that make that happen, there's many, and we can talk about them in detail because they're not vague or ambiguous or unclear. It is completely clear what those things are. One of them relates to doing work like that's a vague word. Let me see. Like being able to explore ourselves in groups is critical. Being able
Groups
to
with
be in
just men?
tribe, not yes, and in general, because being in tribe is critical. Like that's how we are designed. We are pack animals. So there's something about like being able to be in an environment where there is the resource and capacity for these different parts of you, and for it to not digress or tip over or just get totally unhinged, right? Like if people are moving like deep grief or anguish or rage, it's like, yeah, we need to be able to tap into these different parts of ourselves. But if we do it in a container that doesn't have the capacity to meet us there, it is literally traumatic, because what ends up happening is we're working with this imprint that there are these parts of me that are unlovable, unacceptable. There's something wrong with me. I'm fundamentally flawed. And when I bring certain parts of myself online, it's too much, even for myself and everybody around. And then I'm alone and I get the feedback that there's something wrong with me. That's what almost everyone is doing. And that's it. That's true. That's what the deal is. So being in environments where we can explore different ranges and aspects of ourselves, where we get a new imprint, a corrective experience of us liberating different ranges and aspects and come into contact with us and moving energy and sharing and being met and witnessing each other, is corrective. It is restorative. We could use the word healing, but that word is so bastardized, it doesn't really mean very much. But the actual restorativeness of being able to experience different parts of ourselves in relationship and get the feedback that I feel more connected to you than I ever have, and that is beautiful, and just like me, like fucking A, is it's literally life-changing. It's almost like your life was going that way and now it's going that way.
Yeah, because someone's saying, I get you, I feel you, I see you, even in these darkest, most raw, most naked parts of you.
Yeah.
You know, something real quick, if I can make this point, something was really interesting I saw on social media. I haven't had a chance to look at the show or the episode, but Oprah just did a show, and the big hook was one out of 7 men doesn't have friends. Like, there are so many men who don't have male friends, who are not in friendships. And the highest suicide rate is middle-aged men who have been divorced. So you see a lot of men who might have families and have been married, then they have a divorce. Half of everything's taken away from them. Their ex-wife is pissed. Their kids are pissed. They have a job they don't like. They've just lost most of their money, and they have no one to talk to. And so when I think about this topic, I really do think about male isolation. And I don't think many people are aware of how big it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just going to say, where are the people who are standing up and saying, hey, come with me? You know, you're not alone. You don't have to be isolated. There are people here. There's a whole new world that can bring you back into this fold, so you can feel a sense of this wholeness, this integrity that you speak about. Yeah, I wish it was more visible. So
and it brings up how integrity, if we think about wholeness, we are pack animals, as I said. So it's like wholeness is about tribe. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
You cannot experience a sense of wholeness and not look ecologically. That is not a thing. That is delusional. That is literally not how human beings are. There's no way for you to be in right relationship with your nature and to be whole if you don't have relationships with other people. You cannot do that. That's how
so
it is.
You can't be a great lover if you never talk about sex, and if you don't have anyone to confide in, and you don't have anyone to share your
experience with
and your breakdowns.
So we're kind of getting into territory that I think we can lay some stuff out that may be really helpful for the listeners here, because what ends up happening is, like, when people start to try to move the needle and having a better life, better relationships, better sex life, they're so ill-equipped and under-resourced that they're just buried. And again, the sense of, like, it's devastating how incompetent I am and I don't know how to succeed in this domain. So I'm just going to go play video games because I have no idea how to have a good life, and it's breaking my heart and I don't know how to deal with that. And now it's just a vicious cycle and it just keeps stacking and stacking and stacking. How do you get out of that? Mm-hmm. Like in sex, for example, it's like to even have enough resource where we can start to communicate with one another. And for example, the open communication with a partner can actually facilitate something happening. We need more foundational resource for that to work. It's like we need more ground under us before we can even do anything with an opportunity. Like, we don't have the skills. We don't have the foundational skills to understand how to be in community, how to be in relationship, how to be in bed. How do we get out of that?
How do we do it, Rob? Tell us.
Yeah, well, this is a good segue. The program that I run, Men of Substance, which is more like an umbrella with many different offerings underneath it at this point, is a download of the foundational pieces that men need to be able to not just get out of the mud, but to have the best sex humanly possible. And that's not hype. That is real. And I can explain what it really means in a way that's not abstract. And maybe that's what we should do now.
Do it.
Cool. So let's see.
We're encouraging you. Did you see? A little encouragement
Yeah.
goes a long way. Get ready, everyone, for what's next. Rob is going to lay it on the line.
Yeah. I do want to bookmark the encouragement piece because I do have a question around that, but we can circle it at the end. I want to hear what you have to say on this first.
Curious. Okay. So yeah, we could set it up like this. Men want so many directions that we can start, different points of entry. Cool. So, men want ongoing sexual gratification. Women have a highly sexual and orgasmic and devotional nature that comes out in the right conditions. Right. It is in men's best interest to understand what those conditions are and how to provide them to the woman that they're with. That's the deal.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding.
So even if
well spoken, I just have to say, very well articulated. You just named exactly how it works.
It does. And even if your wife, for example, has never experienced herself in this way, it does not change my thesis.
Yeah.
Even if you think that that's water under the bridge and now we're 50 or whatever, and, I miss my chance. I
also want to add,
not seen,
even if she has pursued her understanding of these nuances and the conditions, it still doesn't mean that he must also learn this for himself, because I could know it for me, and that still doesn't mean my partner will know it, even if I explain it 8 times to Sunday. I think your thesis still stands.
So
yes?
So that's a layered thing. We can unpack that, but maybe we'll circle back. We'll add that to the stack of the two things to circle back to. So I would say that, like, so this is really big, and we're getting into the more technical parts of the context. Let's say, where what men need to know is that there are 2 distinct arousal pathways. There are 2 distinct arousal pathways in feminine sexual opening and orgasmicness. One of the pathways is related to downregulation and related to the notion that perhaps the nature of feminine embodiment is orgasmic fundamentally. And because the feminine embodiment is not in conditions in which that orgasmicness emerges in the natural process that it does when it is provided with the right conditions, it does not open that way. So there's a sense of like feminine arousal and orgasmicness just blossoms when it is provided with the right conditions, in a way that it is about emotional attunement, relational and emotional attunement, and subtlety and downregulation. And then there's another pathway that is like overt horniness and sexual charge, in the like fuck her open, or the, you know, on the female side, like she who likes to be fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And these are two distinct arousal pathways neurologically, and they're selected for, if we look at like what evolutionary biology says, this is totally grounded in science, and it's also grounded in yogic science and tantric traditions and whatever. Like, this is the deal. There's a third way that is like a dynamic integration of these two pathways, but basically we have a downregulated, subtly oriented emotional opening that allows the depth of feminine ecstatic conductivity to be the predominant thing that is occurring. And then that completes itself in, I won't even say what it completes itself in. Like, well, that it goes somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
It creates a circuit.
Yes, it does. And I'll circle back to what that is and what it means. And then the other one is like horniness, in the way that people typically think about it, where it's
Libido.
like, I'm horny, right? So
Yeah.
we'll zoom out, like just kind of take a step back and make the frame a little wider and look at a question that I investigate this because most people don't even understand what sex is at a fundamental level and what sex is for. So in my work, this is something that we look at just to lay out what is the context. What is sex for? What are we even doing here? Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this? And we can look at, there are 10 different reasons of what sex is for, why people are interested in it. But then there is an underlying force or an underlying movement in the natural world that we could simply define as what sex is for is the completion of the sexual impulse. The completion of the sexual impulse, horniness. We are compelled to express ourselves and to move energy internally, sexually. And that's just a part of being alive. That's related to embodiment. We are compelled. And we could say like, yeah, that's the desire to procreate and to bond, duh. And it's like, not really. It's more complex than that, for sure. And if you understand what the completion of the sexual impulse actually is about, you're in the game of something that is utterly profound and will change your life and is the most exquisite thing you'll ever know. And most people do not understand what the completion of the sexual impulse is because they're addicted to intensity and peak orgasm, and they don't get it. That is not the completion of the impulse. That is the depletion of the charge that mobilizes the impulse. Peak orgasm is
Say
not.
that again.
Peak orgasm is not the resolution or the completion of the impulse. It is the thing. It is depleting what mobilizes the impulse. So most men are like, yeah, what I'm compelled towards is to just bust or whatever. And women similarly with clitoral stimulation, that's what this resolves in. My tension or my frustration or my is a peak orgasm. No, it is not. That is not what that is. That is a fundamental misunderstanding of human sexuality. And the alternative is that we learn to sublimate that impulse. That's an important word, to sublimate that impulse past. Like if you're going down a road that's 100 miles long and you're trying to get to the end and you get to exit 2 and you leave the road, you're not on the road anymore. So the sense of like, I don't know what exit 3 is, 4 is, 5 is, 6 is. I sure as hell don't know what the end of this road is, because every single time I go down this road, I get off at exit 2. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's so people are completely unaware of what human sexuality actually is, or at least what it could be, whatever, if we don't want to frame it absolutely. So this is super confusing and it requires education because, again, it's not just, okay, get in the game because we are so off. That does not result in something meaningful happening. It doesn't. It's like, oh, get out and relate with people. We're like, I tried that. It didn't work. It's like, well, yeah, because you don't know what you're doing, and that's not your fault. This culture is fucked.
We've never learned.
So are you saying that that's the difference between like biological impulses, procreate, right? Like we're all wired for that, as compared to conscious sexuality?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, and that's a great question, and that's the question in the airwaves. So it's great that you bring it. What I'm saying is that the reason why people think that that's what's happening is because our bodies are oriented towards contraction and fear. When we are stimulated, when there is more arousal, when there is more charge in our nervous system, we tend to seek relief because we do not have the capacity to sustain charge. Mm-hmm. So it seems like I just have to come, because what's actually happening, the subtext of that is my body does not know how to sustain more charge. I do not have the capacity to experience myself. Right. So I will get out of that, right? And there's many things. I think that Willow, you were kind of pointing to this a little bit, where we start to run into what Gay Hendricks calls the upper limits problem, which basically means I don't feel safe to experience pleasure and success. Fundamentally, on an identity level, I feel like I'm going to die or something bad is going to happen if I have a good time. And this sense of like, can we actually expand into sustaining success, abundance, and good feelings in our bodies and in our life is something that, believe it or not, most people's entire reality is dictated by these unconscious beliefs. And when we flip them, life is like a downhill stroll relative to this kind of feeling that we're just
sabotaging.
100%. Exactly. Yeah. Self-sabotage. I imagine so many people have experienced this that,
Well, I think there's like a driving force for state changes, right? It's why we're all dopamine chasing, which is what leads us to a lot of people to masturbate to get relief, or to eat to get relief, or name the poison.
Conflict.
Yeah. It's because we want to get out of what we're feeling.
Huge. Yeah.
We need a state change, and these are easy go-to state changes.
Well, yeah.
Yes. But you're certainly not only talking about that. There's this whole other path of like, can you increase your capacity? And really the electric, I mean, to me, I go back to circuitry in the system. Like, can you increase your ability to run more energy, which means being able to stay in one place and be in presence with it, find out
and
who
breathe
you are.
And sound.
And there's a place in sex where there's self-actualization experiences through sex, through arousal, through pleasure, through connection, through intimacy. But if you can't hang in there, then you're going to miss the boat. If you can't walk yourself to certain levels of vulnerability, because it seems like at the edge of all this, fear is being deeply seen and to be found out that you're not lovable, you're not worthy, there's something wrong with you, you're really gross, there's something broken, shame, 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 and more shame. I don't want anyone to see that because I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be left alone. So we keep on putting facades. And sex in its nakedness doesn't just mean you're naked physically, which is hard enough sometimes when you hate your body, but it also means emotional nakedness. It means all this nakedness. And nakedness can be very confronting. So to summarize, this is the edge that we're playing with, is can you show up and hang there?
Totally.
And be with.
Totally. Yeah. And there's a lot more, there's a lot more related to how. Yeah, but I mean, maybe I'll just let you steer the conversation. There's so many different directions.
No, keep going.
What would you like me to double click on? There's so many different things that we could get into, like the pelvic trauma reflex and what it is to really liberate the full orgasm reflex.
Yeah,
and in my work, I talk about
that sounds
restoring your original erotic circuitry. So,
because we were just talking about this recently and there's lots of products coming on the market right now regarding this pelvic reflex, all this pain that I think both men are experiencing, though the marketing seems to be targeted towards women. Vaginal pain. Is all of this related to what you're about to add to the floor? When you say pelvic trauma?
There's a lot of threads. There's a lot here. So what we can talk about is like
We're gonna have to have you back another time just to talk about
How
how to open
serious with
men, how to open women. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But keep going on this thread.
Yeah, related to unarguable dysfunction in the female pelvis, for example. That's a good place to start, right?
Yeah.
That if you look at what clinicians say, there is no question that almost all women are experiencing some sort of dysfunction in their genitals and reproductive system and pelvises and bellies. And this is not an anomaly in the greater landscape, but it's interesting to look at specifically where a lot of like numbness and pain during intercourse and mismatched libido and whatever, tearing during childbirth, prolapsed urethras and uterus. Like there's so much going on. It is very clear that we are not doing well on the level of like our literal tissues and systems in the body. And it seems also clear that like when women are addicted to their Hitachi wand, it gets worse. Right. So this is evidence of a theory that is super uncomfortable for people to hear, especially coming from a man, that this is not what you think it is. And you got famoosed by feminine sexual empowerment narratives about your vibrator. And that's uncomfortable and confusing. The sense of like, oh, I should be seeking how to have a clitoral orgasm as some sort of stance of empowerment in my life is like, yeah, maybe we need a little more nuance in this conversation, or you're actually going to harm yourself and impact your sexual life and your well-being, broadly speaking. And this is not different for men with their addiction to pornography and their masturbation habits, for example. Like, so to wrap up the female thing, like dry and dead nerves and fascial adhesions, and as I mentioned, prolapsed urethras and uteruses and blowouts during childbirth, and all of this sort of stuff is like, something's off, right? Clearly. And this is not like I have a theory. It's like this is clear. And the thing with men, similar, evidentially, that when men spend, from age 12 to, 20 or whatever, and then probably forever after that for a lot of guys, just like aggressively like shoving their cock into their pelvic floor over and over again while watching hypernormal, extreme sexual behavior in a very bizarre relational context, that is programming their physical bodies and their nervous systems in a way that is highly consequential and limits their function and their ability to experience pleasure and sensation and orgasm and ecstatic conductivity and
right. Erectile dysfunction
yada.
and premature ejaculation is on the rise in staggering numbers starting at very young ages. It is shocking when you look at the data.
Totally.
But what do you recommend for women in terms of how to heal physiologically regarding these dysfunctions that are ruinous?
Yeah. I would say get help. And
who
can hire me and Leah?
I'm aware of a lot of pelvic floor therapists and all sorts of people, and the success rate isn't all that high, to be honest with you. I don't know that there are a lot of great interventions that are readily available.
I think that there are different lineages that are completely legit and reliable, and there's tremendous reliable care available. And then, as with basically the entire medical industry, female pelvic health care is a ghetto, and so is everything else in the medical system. So,
find the right.
That's how
Do you
it
think
is.
it's more of a somatic issue than a physiological issue?
For sure, no. I think it is literally the tissues in your body. That literally, and there's a correlation, but I think it works in both directions, that if you're doing the energetic, psychological, somatic work,
but you
then
have to touch,
it will be easier, but you also need manual therapy, like literally somebody to help you unwind all of this stuff that's been going in the wrong direction for, in many cases, for generations and generations and generations.
Yeah.
And then we learn how to
Definitely
organize our
epigenetic
bodies. It's
for many
epigenetic, and it
people.
also is, we become entrained and we model the people that we aspire to be like, and the people that provide safety and security for us as little ones, where it's like you model the way that your mother carried her, the way that she organized her body, and the way that she moved her hips, and the way that she organized her uterus, and all of these things that are even more subtle is something that we entrain into. So maybe it is epigenetic, maybe it is field entrainment. It doesn't matter. There are clear patterns happening through lineages. That's super interesting.
I think where I struggle with this theory that you're laying out with is so many women have not prioritized pleasure. A lot of that is due to social conditioning. Everyone else comes before them. And now when they start to turn towards their pleasure and they're looking for that sexual empowerment, and it's not easy and it's so hard, and then it's painful. It's physically painful.
Yeah.
To then take away the use of vibrators in particular, though there are other sex toys that one could still engage with that might bring about pleasure. It's like, get a win, baby. Get a win wherever you can get a win. I would never tell a woman to not use her vibrator, but I would tell her to train her pleasure so she's not codependent with her vibrator. And some of the ways to do that is to wean yourself off the vibrator, not necessarily to just, okay, no more, pleasure. And then you're spending a year or longer filled with frustration, feeling broken, with not a lot of adequate help to retrain the nervous system when you've got messages that are crossed going up to the brain in order to effectively realign so that your system can unfold and rebalance and come back into that integral wholeness that you were speaking of earlier. It's such a tricky, and I don't expect you to answer all of this in 1 hour long podcast, but I'm just wanting to put some weight on like how emotionally and physically painful this particular topic is, and how the solutions are just so hard to integrate.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting this, because I in no way mean to be harsh or to not speak with compassion about the reality of what it is like for so many people, for sure.
Yeah.
And I also think there's a point where we might want to stand for like, this is not serving you. And we need to look at something that is much more holistic and integrative, rather than like, okay, honey, like where's the line? I don't know. I think it is highly individual, and I would not necessarily offer broad advice to anybody, unless, like, especially in this domain, without more context about where they're at. Because for me, I hesitate to offer people like myopic allopathic solutions to anything. I think that it is extremely dangerous to enable people to have more tolerance for what they are doing that is creating suffering and dysfunction. That's trippy, right? Because it's like, and I also fully hear you, Leah, that like, to be like, well, how are we going to take away this one resolve or
I don't think it's an either or. I don't think it's like we have to
for sure. I get it. It's like the sense of like
dualistic answer.
Psychiatric meds is a great analog to this, of just like, like maybe a lot of people that are on psychiatric meds ought not be, but if they are not seeking alternative treatment and support for how to understand how to be well without it, to take it away from them can be cataclysmic and extremely dangerous.
Example.
So I think that it is not so simple, and
we are inside
of like our thinking is not systems oriented. It is not like, what is the broader context of why this particular issue is arising, so that we can put a band-aid on it. It's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a completely different worldview in thinking about wellness and being itself.
I almost feel like this whole episode is sort of broadening into this very thing, which is we have become so myopic. Give me the answer. I just want the answer. If you give me the answer, I'll do the thing, right? And so we go to our doctors and we want the prescription. And the point is this is a journey. this is an unfolding. This has multiple petals, and you don't just tell a flower, open. Why aren't you open?
Yes.
You allow it to get enough sun and water and appreciation.
I literally use this exact analogy.
And it unfolds.
Analogy.
It's a whole lifetime
totally
of discovery.
It's a perfect image. I love that. And I use it so much for the nature of feminine sexual opening specifically, of just like, for a flower to open, it needs conditions, it needs time, it needs enzymes, it needs like the nectar flowing through the stem and sunlight and soil and microbes and it is there are conditions in which this natural process occurs, and if you take those conditions away, it impacts the natural process. So the investigation is, how do we create the conditions to tether it back to how to open women? How do we as men or whatever create the conditions where women open into the kind of beings and sexual partners that we would most enjoy selfishly and would be best for them? That this is the investigation. Like, this is not just for women. We are not separate. This is one thing. We are all one thing.
So how can men find that out? Like, how can men start to learn this, like creating these conditions? Like, what do you got for our men out there and our women who want to pass it on to their men?
Sure. Yeah. And Leah, did you have another thing you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and so then what's if that's sort of the responsibility for men to create and generate and be fully participating in order to have selfishly their needs be met by also meeting their partner's needs. Is there like an opposite way? Like, what's women's responsibility towards men? And I think you might have started the episode out with that, in terms of encouragement matters, but also telling the truth matters. Don't just wallow and sit there. It matters that you're sitting out instead of playing big. Beautiful. I'm just curious if that's where this interface.
No, it's great. It's great. Thank you. So what I see as the model for what I think we are all wanting is for both partners to be all in. Like, we're here to be allies, to tell the truth, to work together, to create something that is beautiful for everybody. That's what we want. And we are coming out of the dark ages where you're either I'm going to use sloppy language just to lay it out like this. Like, you're either like hyper masculine and you're kind of an asshole, or you're hyper feminine and you just let people walk all over you and you don't think about your own needs. And there's a trend in our society that seems like it's encouraging women and people to go into this kind of hyper individualistic mode of getting over here. That's not it. There's an integration in the middle that Terry Real calls loving firmness, of being like, it's not passive. Sometimes it's very direct and like grabbing your fucking partner by the collar and being like, you will listen to me now. This is important. We need to work together. I love you so much. This is not working. I need this, 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 and this. How can I help you? We need that as a society so much more. There's a quote by Terry Real that I'm going to probably paraphrase. Maybe I'll get kind of close. He says something like, oh, maybe I have it written down. I was just thinking, yeah, how about that?
How about that?
Literally right here. Amazing.
Perfect.
How handy.
Yeah. This is so good. There is absolutely nothing that harshness does that loving firmness does not do better.
Nice.
There is absolutely nothing that harshness does that loving firmness does not do better.
Ding, ding.
If you're a dog trainer, if you're a parent, if you're a hostage negotiator, if you're addressing political conflict, whatever, right? It's like, we're not here to be passive. We're not here to be tyrannical and to seek to have power over. We're here to have power with. I love that kind of restorative justice frame, right? Of really looking into how do we actually come back into integration where we are working together to accomplish a common goal that serves all. That's what people are missing. That they're like, that asshole, I'm going to fucking tell him what it is and go stand up on a soapbox and yell at him for being a bad feminist. And it's like, good luck, honey.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
And you're going to die alone.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and
why
like, that's
virtue
very
signaling
harsh,
doesn't work. Yeah.
For real. Like that's what happens. Right. And it's like, it happens for men too, where men either just get totally passive and it comes back to the sense that I think everybody kind of gets into like, well, they should just know. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you have
we need to
co-educate, co-create. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, we got to work together. We got to work together.
Well, also, there's also a piece of like, you have to get clear. And getting clear isn't always easy. Like when it's really concise and you can grab them by the scruff and go, look, this is not working for us. And I need this, this, and this. Man, when you can say that with clarity, it lands. But when you're spaghetti sauce, and all you know is that something isn't working, and it could be this, or it could be that, or it could be this, or it could be that.
That circles back to your pelvic floor. You know, like a lot of answers are in the tissues. Yeah.
Well, interesting. I wasn't thinking, that's not where my mind went, Willow, but that's an interesting point. And like what I would say is also like people need help. People need help.
This comes back to the tribe.
Totally.
You need the people around you to help you, and they need your help. And so we don't have clarity. We have to have our community to hold us and to reflect back to us, and
you know, for all of the ladies listening out there who are like, I do need help. I do pelvic floor with women on Zoom all the time. And it is pro-fucking-found. And they get the answers they need, the clarity they need, and they go back to their relationships and shit changes. It doesn't have to, you don't even need to have someone in person. Like you just need guidance on how to get into your own tissues. It's great if someone else can do it. It's much more relaxing, but there's a lot of help out there, and there's us. We're right here. So just reach out.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to say like, yes, tribe and community is really helpful. And also people need professional support. And also just kind of like echoing a lot of Terry Reel's language, because it's top of mind right now. He says like, how do I know that you need help? How does somebody know if they need help? Because you can't do it on your own. That's how you know. You know you need help when you can't do it on your own.
If you keep cycling in the same thing and like things aren't changing. Yeah. Okay. I want to wrap us up, and I want the men to know the resources that you have. So I want the men to be able to find you, like get some free info from you, get some, lower ticket. How can they?
Yeah, we have a free gift.
Step into your world.
Yeah, totally. So I can mention that the bedroom compass is a good way to really look at what are the building blocks of great sex lives, to really like look, just like demystify the whole thing, and like, what is this made out of, and where do I stand? So that is a useful tool. But what I would really recommend is I do a masterclass called How to Open Women.
Ding, ding, ding.
And
go to that class, everybody.
Thanks.
When's the next one? I want to go.
Well, we have a recording that people can just get at any time, and we also run it pretty regularly. So I don't know exactly when this will, but just find me. I'm not hard to find. There's information available online of what I got coming up.
What's your website?
robkancler.com. Plain and simple.
Kancler?
That's Kancler.
Perfect. Yes. robkancler.com. Men of Substance. There's a program called Fuck Her for Real.
Yeah.
Many different things.
Wait, do you have a directory of the men who've come out of that course? Because that would be really useful for the single women out there.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something that I think it's pretty interesting, because like matchmaking and dating and all this kind of stuff is interesting, where I saw a woman posted on Facebook like, hey, I have a friend who's back in the US for a little while, and he's going to be in this town, and he said that he wanted to go on some dates. and her vouching for this person, the comment thread was off the fucking
I love that.
Really
rails.
interesting.
It was
That's so
ridiculous. And it was just like, like
Yeah.
and it's to say
That
that like
makes
women are
sense.
so hungry for men that have the capacity to meet them. They are so
right.
hungry. They're so eager. And
Mhm.
a lot of the men that I work with, a good majority of them are in long-term relationships. So yeah, but there's also a lot of single guys and people who are,
You could start a
open
directory, Rob.
relationship.
And do you only
yada,
work
yada,
with
yada.
men, Rob?
No, I do. I work with couples, and I don't have any things that I'm offering to women specifically right now outside of couples work and one-on-one work, which
Okay.
is full and waitlisted anyways. So it's not really possible. But a couple months ago, it was really weird synchronicity, super strange, where I had probably 20 people in 1 week reach out to me and be like, hey, what's the girl version of Men of Substance? And I was like, well, fuck, maybe we have to make that.
Yeah. Yes. You should
Next
noodle on
on
that and make that
your-
go.
I have, yeah. Working title is Women of Essence, which I think is a
I
dope.
love
Oh,
that.
that's a
Maybe
nice
that'll happen.
compliment.
I'm a
You got
big
great
fan of
titles.
that.
Yeah. And yeah, I've spoken to several female colleagues, and it seems like in 2026 we're going to launch that program, and it's awesome. And as people can probably tell, I'm really interested in giving people tools that will help them holistically. It's like, this is not cheap. This is not allopathic. This isn't some like hypey bullshit. This is something that will actually help you live in right relationship with your nature. And the full range of like horny fucking and like deep, tender lovemaking and exalted spiritual experiences, and understanding the actual embodied building blocks of that and the mindset, and top to bottom.
Cool.
So that is what we offer. If you feel called, what I always tell people is like, if you feel the pull, then check it out.
Yeah, right
Awesome.
on. Well, Rob, what a delicious conversation. We could talk to you all day. I want to pick this back up again soon. Thank you so much for being on the show. Really, really fun. Totally enjoyable hour.
Awesome. Same.
Yeah,
thank you for
so
having me.
much.
Appreciate you both.
Such a pleasure.
Okay, our friends, you know that the show's not over. We've got the dish coming up, so stay tuned.
Now, our favorite part, the dish.
Well, delicious. My soul
I
just
know.
loves those kinds of combos.
I know. What a deep, powerful, rich conversation. It went in so many different directions, and it was like, very, very potent, I would say.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be over. I mean, there were so many little percolations, so many different threads. What was your favorite?
I mean, I think just the way that he's looking at how men and women both can co-support each other, like how men can learn how to open women so that they can actually get their own selfish sexual needs met. I mean, hello, this should be taught in junior high. I mean, this is what sex ed should be from the very beginning. Like, look, young boys, you have this drive. You've got this thing between your legs that's got you screaming in a direction of satisfaction. And I also loved how he kind of pulled apart, like, yeah, those quick clitoral releases and coming orgasms that we're all sort of like addicted to, and we think of as what's the goal of sex. That's kind of keeping us in a loop, always getting off the highway too early.
Actually, one of the places that I disagreed with him.
well, I can
interestingly
hear,
enough,
I can hear what he's saying. I mean, I think
I
it's
can
like.
I used to believe in that. I don't believe in that as strongly anymore.
Well, I don't think it's an either or either. I think there's nothing wrong with a quickie. Like, that's what we always say in our work. There's nothing wrong with having a good clitoral orgasm or a ejaculatory orgasm. Like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you can stay on the highway longer.
Yeah.
There's more to
there's
discover.
Like, not everyone is going to be interested in the sexual evolution. It's not a part of their karma or dharma or anything else.
Well,
like,
then they're
you're
probably
not ever
not
going to
here.
study tantra, right? You're never going to look at conscious sexuality. Should they? Yes. Will they? No. So do we need to convince people that they should. I'm giving up on that quest. Well, let other people figure it out.
Well, I don't think I don't know if it's about convincing people that they should. It's just like that. I think what he was saying is like that there is so much more, and that is a fact.
True.
And so to stop getting in to learn how to get out of the loop of like satisfaction, done, next, it's like you can discover so much more of your wholeness and bring so much more of your essence to the world, which we do need from individuals. We need people who are not just in their addiction patterns all the time.
And I agree with the concept and specific context when we're talking about that particular issue. Like if you are settling for only having that relief, if you're settling for only being able to orgasm with a vibrator, if you're having all sorts of dysfunction and you're not looking at what you're using that could be making the dysfunction worse, are you willing to try all these other things that could be what's limiting your ability to have these, transformational cosmic experiences that are available to you through sexuality if you're just settling for fast food when there's actually a gourmet restaurant that's on your block? Wake up and discover it. It's available.
And invest a little bit more.
So like yourself. That I'm on 1,000% right on with everything he's saying. Where I get a little where the conflict arises for me is, man, it's so hard to get a win sometimes in life. Like sometimes just do the thing that works. And I've just worked with so many women who beat themselves up because they still need a vibrator in order to get off. And then they try and they try and they try, and then they never get the pleasure. I'm like, fuck that. Do what works. There's nothing wrong with a vibrator. You don't have to shame yourself because your Hitachi works. Like do what works. But broaden your menu. And if you can't broaden it because one thing works too well, okay, then wean yourself off of it. Explore for a couple of years. How much time do you want to invest? It's okay to be frustrated. Can you stay in frustration and not want to kill everybody around you? Like, so all these nuances, right? But I noticed when he said that part, I was like, ooh, them are fighting words in certain rooms filled with women. And I wanted to voice that, and I'm glad I did. And I felt like his response was really great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just think, what he's teaching and what he's sharing with men is so, so incredibly valuable. And I just really want, all men to feel like they know how to get the win. When he was highlighting the fact that for men, when they feel incompetent, it is so soul shattering. I mean, you can really feel that when a man is like, fuck, I don't know how to figure this out, whether it's in sexuality or finances or success or whatever the fuck it's
like
in.
Who
family.
I am is not welcome.
Yeah. It's like, it's so debilitating. And I think if they have a map and if you have a map for sexual success, look, you have a map for success in anything, and I'm using that word success, but it's really just like to get your needs met.
I think success is a good word. Yeah. To feel like you got to win. I mean, I think that's is under talked about, that our fear of male intensity. And, like what if there was a space for a man to really explore that? And what I really hear from him is that there needs to be rooms with men for him to cultivate that in a way where you can get feedback. And I think also women need to like open up their sense of I'm safe. Safety is a door that opens on my side. Right. And I can also handle a man's intensity. I don't need to be so trauma triggered that it's like men can't be who they are. Do your work so that you can build your capacity to be with men in their primal places, because guess what? There's a gift in it for you. There's so much hot eros. There's so much being left on the table. Yeah. And I also like that he said, like, you can't just walk through any door. There are different doors that your psyche and your nervous system is ready for. You can't go into door 10, without first testing door 1. Can you at least handle door 1? Right. And if it's so uninvestigated because you're a man and you've never let yourself even get in touch with that, no wonder women aren't attracted to you. Yeah. Because the nice guy doesn't win with women at the end of the day. yet we need our intense man to also be nice. So it's so confusing. I really feel for men.
I mean, again, for me, it comes down to attunement. And I feel like what happens, especially inside of sexuality, is there's so much lack of attunement to self within men that I am, either working with or in some kind of relationship with. It's like they're so attuned or overly oriented toward her pleasure, making sure like that's what brings them their pleasure. But this to me kind of cycles back to like, you will get your needs met when you learn how to open her,
Yeah.
and so
Yes.
and so then there's that circuitry, and it creates that cycle of just fucking total magic, tantric bliss, right? And it does require I think for a lot of men to learn how to attune to themselves.
Well, I also think it's interesting that he's like, there are 3 areas that arousal builds in a woman. There's this being met emotionally.
Those were interesting.
There's the physiological thing that's all science backed, and then he mentioned the third thing, which I can't remember right now.
Well, no, it was up regulating and down regulating. Yeah. And the third one was the combo of the two.
Yeah.
And so I've never really heard anyone quite speak to it that way, which was really interesting. Yeah. I could see like a lot of women are going to need that relaxation and that down regulation in order to open, in order to be met. Whereas like other women are just like, fuck me now, and so
I heard this story the other day. A friend of mine was coaching this woman, and she met this guy, and she's been struggling, just like when long-term relationships, she has them, but the sex always fizzles, or she'll be dating someone and the sex is really hot, but nothing else works. And, and she just goes on and on and on. And he, in his opinion, she doesn't take a lot of accountability or responsibility for what she is bringing to the table that is creating a lot of men not wanting to commit to her long-term. And one of the things he reflected back to her is like, you sit there and you complain, and then you bolster all your complaints with, I'm so worthy, and I'm so great, and I'm college educated, and I'm gorgeous, and I've got a great body, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm that. And why is he with her? She's low class. She's not college educated. What does he see in her? I've got so much more to offer, right? It's like that kind of conversation. He finally said, how do you think she makes him feel as compared to how you make him feel? Because you're sitting over here going, why aren't you picking me? I'm so great. I'm so great. I'm so great. And you're doing it wrong. How do you think that makes him want to feel? Do you think he wants to be with the person who's only reflecting back to them what they're doing wrong? Or and also the person who may not bring a lot of resources to the table, but man, she makes him feel great. I thought, that is so interesting.
It is also really focused on like what she's getting out of it rather than what she's giving.
And then the other part is being in competition versus in collaboration.
Right.
Like you don't want to be in competition with your partner.
I think that's part of the toxic feminine that needs to definitely like get healed. So I'm glad you brought that.
And I think the reason why I was thinking of that is when he was talking about like a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah.
To have a real shift in your attention is how do you want your partner to feel? Foster that. That's encouragement. That man, if they take that risk, it's like that 1% you were saying, the path goes this way, the destiny transforms.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun.
Well, blessings on that interview. Much love to y'all, and we will see you on the next one.
See you on the flip side.
Thanks for tuning in. This episode was hosted by Tantric Sex Master Coach and Positive Psychology Facilitator Leah Piper, as well as by Chinese and Functional Medicine Doctor and Taoist Sexology Teacher Dr. Willow Brown. Don't forget, your comments, likes, subscribes, and suggestions matter. Let's realize this new world together.